Humpday. Who's Hysteria?
A Sauce on the Side production.
Hello, Differs. Welcome to Volume 29 of Humpday Hysteria. I'm your host, the producer, Pip, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, basketball mind of the world, Fletcher Hoyk.
You know, late in Christmas Day, the Lakers played the Warriors, and the Lakers almost couldn't have written a better script for themselves. Before LeBron goes out with that injury that, he was sidelined for the rest of the game for, he was playing a really good game. The Lakers, their supporting cast and young players stepped up big, showed that they can beat the Warriors without LeBron, had great games. They showed that they have more than that team of just LeBron. And so you add a second player there. He knows that he's going to have a team around him that's not just LeBron James and a bunch of misfit toys. It's like we tweeted that on Christmas Day. What's stopping?
And Fletcher, that's a very good point. Unfortunately, LeBron is now hurt. We'll talk about that. As always, Dippers, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the Saucy Pod. And make sure to check out all Sauce on the Side podcasts on both iTunes and Spotify. So, Fletcher, we'll start off with Mary talked about LeBron James. Over the past couple of weeks, he's said some pretty questionable things to the media. First, on his HBO show, he said that NFL owners are old white men with a slow mentality. And we discussed that on Monday. And then later on in the week, he posted an Instagram video with someone said his new song in it. The caption, "We've been getting that Jewish money, anything is kosher." Like I said, lyric from the album, and the NBA already said that they're not going to punish LeBron anyway for making the picture. And then in a promo interview with Richard Nichols before the Christmas Day game, LeBron came right out and said that he was pissed off about Katie's comments about around him being kind of toxic with the media and all that stuff. And that's really one of the first times that I remember him just outright cussing in an interview that wasn't like a post-game or pre-game interview, just exclusive promo with one company. And I told this earlier in the week that had a reason why I thought that was happening now. And I think that LeBron had just realized his power and is going to push it and use it. Because NBA, I think so, and I'm pretty sure you think so too, and probably most people think, is the best run organization. A big part of that is that they just embrace the player, they embrace mobility, they let them wear their own shoes, really rich personalities. And this is kind of the nature of that beast, that they built up these players so high, and now LeBron being, their top guy, just kind of reaching the pinnacle where it could be, is really now just saying, alright, NBA, I own you now.
So he's got more off-the-court spotlight now that he's in LA. He's always been LeBron James, but, all the star magnitude and power that comes with it. But really, Cleveland and Miami are not big franchises. I know people had this idea that Miami's some big glamorous city, and sure it is, but as far as a sports market, it's not that big. So now he's finally in an area, in a market that's matched him toe-to-toe as far as power and spotlight. So he's got more cameras on him now more than ever. And it's not that he can't handle it, but he's got these off-the-court ventures with, The Shop on HBO, and then he's got his show that's on ESPN now, More Than an Athlete. He's got more cameras on him now, and he's talking more and more. And a lot of the stuff that he wants to give is unfiltered, uninterrupted, like his podcast company. He's wanting to tell the truth in what he sees it. And so that's kind of what you're getting from him now. You hear that with the NBA comments, and then even with him responding to the toxic comment about Kevin Durant. You're just getting a more unfiltered LeBron, and I think it's kind of like an older age kind of thing too. He's going to be turning 34 here in about 3 days, and he's just starting to care less. And it's not that it's necessarily a bad thing, but he's just like, I am who I am. I don't need to hide myself anymore. I'm just going to tell you what I think, and you can either love me or hate me. But I know what I am as a player and as a person. So it's pretty interesting to think about the comments for the 21 Savage, lyrics. He spoke with the NBA, explained the situation, like, hey, these are just comments from or lyrics from a song that I like that I posted. I post lyrics all the time from all kinds of rap artists. He said, I thought it was kind of paying homage to the Jewish community more so than an insult. He apologized for it. The NBA didn't do anything more so Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, is also Jewish, but he's not the spokesperson of the American Jewish community, I'm sure. But the fact that he didn't want to take any punishments or reparations or anything like that against LeBron James, I think that says a little bit that it did come from a sincere spot. It wasn't anything too. It wasn't anything with malintent, is what I'm trying to get at. So I think what you're seeing though is just more of a spotlight, and LeBron saying, I'm worrying less and less what people think of me.
Yeah, and so he says it's LeBron feeling that way. Do you think that the fact that he is LeBron James and is that important thing kind of helps his confidence in saying these things?
I mean, everybody who knows sports and knows basketball, and even LeBron himself, would be lying if he was saying, like, I can do more things, I can say more things, and I have more of a platform than other people because I am LeBron James. I'm sure some people would get fined if they made these comments. I'm sure some people would have the league, the league would force that player to make a statement, whether it was about the 21 Savage lyrics or the NFL owners with the comments he made towards them. Some players would get fined. Some players would be forced to make a statement to clarify or apologize, whatever the case may be. But you do get a little extra with LeBron James. And Jimmy Johnson, the old coach of the Dallas Cowboys, said, he says, I have one rule for everybody. And he goes, that one rule is I'm not going to treat you all equally. He goes, I'm not going to treat Troy Aikman the same as I do the 53rd man on the roster. And that's unfortunate, but it's true. And you're seeing it now, a little bit.
Do you think now that LeBron's going to go see other top players start to kind of do the same thing?
No, not really. You saw LeBron open a school. LeBron's made comments in the past. LeBron's made stances. I mean, you can go back to even back in the early Miami days when he was wearing the hood, with his teammates in solidarity for Trayvon Martin, the incident that happened with the kid in Miami there in Florida. Players have had a long time to speak out on different things, and they've chosen not to. And I'm not saying that they're wrong or right for doing it, but it's just they haven't done it yet. A handful of players have, but the majority of them haven't. So I don't think that now all of a sudden that they're going to be spurred to do so.
All right, and now going to the game. After LeBron's interview to play a game at Golden State, and the Lakers won it pretty handily.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron left the game in the third quarter with a mild groin strain. He's day-to-day. Today he's going to miss several games.
Yep.
Fletcher, what are your comments on this game?
Well, I mean, the game itself was pretty impressive. They threw a bunch of different looks at the Warriors. That was nice to see. You see young player in Ivica Zubac and the impact he made. I think he's better offensively than JaVale McGee, but JaVale does more of what they need as far as rim running and rebounding and defensive protection, being a safety net on that back line. But he's a talented player who's going to get – I don't know what's going to happen within the next year to a year and a half with the Lakers with all the trades and free agents that are floating around them. But he is going to be a player who's going to be in this league for a while, and he showed why on Christmas Day. I'm not super concerned with LeBron's injury. It's day-to-day. He played a little bit after the initial, injury itself and kind of pulled it even worse. And he was like, that's it. He was like, I'm not coming back. I got to think if this was the finals or a playoff game, LeBron would have still played. I mean, he played with a broken hand in the finals last year, so I don't think that a groin strain would have kept him out. I think they're going to keep him out several games. One, for the first reason here is you saw how young or how that young core and the supporting cast played without him yesterday on Christmas Day rather, and you saw how having a backup point guard in Rondo was super helpful as well, because you've seen LeBron have to play backup point guard with that second string before. So there are a number of different things there, but it's also a precautionary measure. They're not going to rush him back. I mean, they're sitting at almost the third spot in the West right now, and I think that's more than accomplishing expectations that they have for themselves coming into the year. So there's no reason to rush LeBron back. What is concerning, though, is that he had an MRI after the game, and a lot of times those doctors and trainers or whatever, they won't get an MRI on a player unless they think it's, severe enough concern. They had the MRI, and he's still day-to-day, so that's nice. But having that MRI shows that there was some initial concern for him, and I'm not going to blow this out of proportion with one injury in 16 years, but you got to know the end is coming. I talked about that before. It's why he signed that 4-year deal. He knows the end is coming. But a big concern with the Warriors, Klay Thompson and Draymond Green are both shooting career lows right now in field goal percentage and 3-point percentage coming into this year or coming into the game on Christmas Day. And if you paid much attention when you saw Tyson Chandler guarding Draymond Green, he was literally in the lane guarding him from the 3-point line. And two of the 3-pointers that I saw Draymond Green shoot barely hit the rim, and the other one was an air ball. So the Warriors have some issues to work out there. If it was a playoff series, it would be different because what they would do, they would put Draymond Green in dribble handoff situations where Tyson would be forced to guard the ball and come out of the lane. So in a playoff series, that would change. But the Warriors have some definite concerns. The Lakers, they're going to weather the storm without LeBron for a few games. He's going to come back, and it's nice thing that he has a good young core and a good supporting cast.
Yeah, LeBron, he has played nearly 55,000 minutes in his career, including the playoffs. And this, like you said, is his first real injury every time he missed games. So it could be nothing. But we see muscles issues for his play after LeBron the season before. Mm-hmm. Are you concerned that with how many miles of minutes LeBron's put on his body, it could take longer to heal and end up being like a 10, 15 game thing?
Well, Curry... Let's see, how many games he missed? He had a groin injury earlier this year, and he missed like 9, 10, 11 games, something like that. And they kept him out for a long time. Steph is more brittle than LeBron. Steph has had injuries in the past. LeBron is like a Iron Man, Superman kind of guy. I expect LeBron, I have no reason, I've not read anything to indicate this, but I bet he misses 3 to 5 games. I think he's going to take all the rest he needs. He's got his own personal trainer on the Lakers training staff. He knows his body better than anybody. That trainer obviously knows what works for LeBron better than anybody. They're going to keep him out. I wouldn't blow this out of proportion. I wouldn't make a mountain out of a molehill with this. I would let LeBron tell us what he kind of needs with his body and when he needs to come back. So, and the thing is, at first he thought to try to play through it, and that didn't work out. So it obviously, it wasn't that bad initially. I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, and it probably will be only 4 or 5 games, but let's say it is 10 or 11, maybe 15 games. Like Steph Curry's was. We talked about last week, the West is super competitive this year. I think 2 games separate the 14th team in the last team in the playoffs. So if it is 10, 15 games, do you think the Lakers will be able to keep pace in the competitive West without him?
No, because the thing is, without LeBron, they signed Rondo, they signed McGee, they brought in Tyson Chandler, brought in Lance Stevenson. But other than that, them signing those guys doesn't mean anything. It means about the same as a few years ago when they signed Luol Deng and Timothy Mozgov. Those are nice, okay players, but they're not moving the dial for you. They're not winning you games. LeBron is what's coming in and making all these guys better. He's making JaVale McGee look like a all defensive center. He's got guys running the floor with him, scoring the basketball with him. LeBron and Lonzo really make guys want to get on the break and cut that much harder, set real screens. Come off of screens even harder because they know they're going to get the ball. They're going to put him in a place to succeed. You got Lonzo there for sure, but Lonzo is no LeBron James. So without LeBron, this team could fall out of the playoffs in 10 to 15 games realistically, especially if other teams in the bottom tier of the Western Conference start surging.
Speaking of LeBron in the playoffs, and this will be our last LeBron point going on to other than basketball, Christmas evening, night, whatever, I was driving home from my parents' house, and a Fox Sports analyst was on the radio talking, and I don't know who it was. It sounded like Crispy shot, but I hope not, because I don't think he's this stupid. But he said something that was really, really dumb. I want to get your opinion on it. He said they were talking, of course, about how Lakers have to trade Brandon Ingram, they have to trade Kyle Kuzma to get a star this year, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
He said that if the Lakers don't get to the second round of the playoff this season, this entire Lakers thing is a flop. I feel like it's not because they had a whole offseason to get other guys that could be really good next year.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
That's not the dumbest thing ever. He's definitely wrong, whoever said that. One of the things I said about LeBron coming to the Lakers, they're not going to the finals this year. If they get into the Western Conference Finals, that would be cause for celebration. But it's not a failure because 2 reasons. First one, the Lakers have been a laughingstock for about 5 or 6 years now. And, even just off the court, let alone on the court, they've been a laughingstock with, how they handled Kobe Bryant towards the end of his career. They gave him a 2-year, $50 million extension. That was stupid. He tore his Achilles tendon, was awful in his last year or so. Then they had the whole Nick Young and D'Angelo Russell debacle that occurred. So they've had a lot of cause to look like, really kind of foolish on the court and off the court. So being able to even be in this position, being a top 4 spot in the West, eyeing at a home court advantage in the playoffs, that's a huge success. And the other thing that I talked about in LeBron coming to the Lakers, he's not going to the finals this year. So even if he does make it to the first or second round and then he's out, you're looking at the first time in almost a decade for legitimate rest for LeBron James in the offseason. You're looking at a legitimate 2 to 3 weeks before he has to worry about revamping his game and getting back into training. So the whole idea that if he doesn't make it out of the first round playoffs, it's a complete failure is ridiculous. I will say, though, that the Lakers' rebuild clock is being sped up a lot faster than what they may have anticipated it being due to LeBron James. LeBron is always looking to win now, and furthermore, his end is coming closer. The end is sooner rather than it is farther away.
Yeah. So
making it out of the first round isn't the biggest deal right now, especially where they've been and where they're going. But no, the first year of LeBron James's deals have never worked out. You look at the first year in Cleveland, didn't even make the playoffs. First year in Miami, didn't win a title. First year in Cleveland, didn't win a title. I don't think we're going to cement LeBron's legacy on his first year in Los Angeles either.
All right, and now we're on to other games. Another game on Christmas Day. Houston Rockets beat Oklahoma City without Chris Paul. Harden scored 40 points again for the second time this season. What do you think about this game?
Well, when I tuned in, it was kind of a close game. The Thunder were leading it, and what I kind of saw throughout the game, well, there was one play in the second quarter that really just epitomized Russell Westbrook. He got a rebound, came down the court faster than anybody, shot an ill-advised three. He thought he was fouled, yelled at the ref. When the Rockets player got the ball, he went for the steal, committed the foul, yelled at the referee, then got a technical foul. It's like if you want to summarize Russell Westbrook in one clip as far as a player and what value he provides to a team, that's it. And then from that moment on, Russell Westbrook and his inefficient shooting, turnovers really cost the team. Paul George played an okay game. Steven Adams had an okay game early. I couldn't look past Russell Westbrook and the kind of failures that he committed on the court, and then James Harden and the rest of those shooters and Clint Capella really took advantage of every lapse that they made throughout the game. So it was a little bit of both. It was a little bit of the Rockets playing to win and a little bit of Russell Westbrook rearing the ugly side of what is Russell Westbrook.
So to stay on Westbrook for a second, this season he's shooting the lowest field goal percentage since the second year in the league.
Yep.
He is shooting a career worst 3-point percentage, and is now shooting a career worst free throw percentage, 61%. He's taking that shot coach in the offseason.
Yep.
Do you think that worked?
I don't think it worked, and there's another word that I would like to describe Oklahoma City and Russell Westbrook's relationship right now, and that's called trapped. Because you're going to be spending $40 million on a guy who's had 3 or 4 knee injuries now. He doesn't shoot the ball efficiently well. When he loses his athleticism in another year or two, you're going to be paying him $40 million, and you've got nothing to show for it. So somebody's got to hold him accountable, but nobody is, and that's just my opinion on Russell Westbrook.
And now we'll look at the other team for a quick minute. Houston Rockets. 1 week ago, we were talking about how they might not make the playoffs the way they're playing. Now they won 7 of the last 8 games. So they've won the last 2 without Chris Paul. James Harden leading the lead in scoring. They said earlier he scored 40 points 7 times.
Yep.
Are the Rockets going to be just fine, or are they just on a hot streak?
Well, it's a little bit of both. They're definitely on a hot streak right now. They're 7-3 in their last 10, but they will be fine in the sense that they'll be hunting for the playoffs. They're at the 7th spot right now. When I looked earlier today, not having Chris Paul there definitely hurts. James Harden's having to carry more of the load. You're seeing that with his points, rebounds, and assists each game. He doesn't shoot the greatest percentage still, but I mean, not everybody is built to shoulder that load and score that many points and do that much on the court and score efficiently as well. So and realistically, he's not handling that load that great in terms of health either. He's got a calf strain. He's day to day. He's expected to play in his next game, but you got to have cause for concern there. Chris Paul's only getting older. He's not getting any healthier. Chris Paul was not younger or healthier than he was yesterday. So, I mean, we're looking at a guy who's only getting older and older and older. He's got a 4-year deal. It's going to be tough to see how that translates or expands into the future now. But yeah, I mean, they've got pieces. They've pulled up some guys out of the G League. Clint Capella's playing well. They've got Eric Gordon still. They've got PJ Tucker. They've got some guys there, but I think kind of what you're seeing them right now is what they're going to be for the rest of the year, somewhere between that 7 to 5 seed, probably 8 to 5 seed, probably.
Yep. So you're confident with the playoffs? Like, pretty confident in that?
Yeah. I mean, you got to have. You have to make reservations for injury and other concerns with different teams. The Jazz, in the month of December, they've got the highest offensive and they got the third highest total net rating, which combines your offensive and defensive net rating for the month of December. So you think maybe the Utah Jazz are going to turn things around, and that bottom 3 or 4 spots, things can really fluctuate. So I expect the Rockets to make the playoffs, especially if Chris Paul comes back and can stay healthy for 30, 40 games. But I think they'll make the playoffs, but it's going to be tough, no doubt.
All right, and now we're going to another game. The last good game, in my opinion, from Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Celtics and 76ers. Celtics win a really great game in overtime. Kyrie got 40 points. Gordon Hayward was invisible coming off the bench. Joel Embiid played like he wants to be another best player in Eastern Conference, and he might be that. But Fletcher, what are your comments on this game?
Well, whether he is or isn't the best player in the East really isn't the question. It's the question that I keep seeing in my mind right now, and when I watch them play, is can he and Butler coexist? Butler is not a guy who's known as a tremendous, efficient three-point shooter, and so sometimes what that relegates Joel Embiid to doing, so Jimmy Butler can have those driving lanes, is putting Joel Embiid outside the arc, and he doesn't enjoy that. His first week and a half or 2 weeks or so with Jimmy Butler, Joel Embiid played some really difficult games, didn't have the performances that he's really quite used to, and that's because he was relegated to standing outside the 3-point line. And I think some of that will figure itself out the more they go. They can mix and match lineups, especially when guys can get bought out, and they can sign guys to 1-year veteran minimum deals. So you can look to spread the floor with shooting. You can look to get Embiid and Jimmy Butler involved in the pick and roll. They really just need more consistent shooting. And when I look at this, I think, how stupid were they? I mean, looking at things now, it's easier to say that, but like Kawhi Leonard, you got a top 5 player in the league. Why would you not give up full Saric and a bunch of picks to get Kawhi Leonard, seeing how well he can shoot the ball, and then also drafting Mikal Bridges and keeping him? Like, those are 2 things that were just huge does to me. Like, I don't understand how you pass on that. And now you see that they passed on those 2 opportunities, and they're kind of stuck with who they can play now. I mean, they throw out Wilson Chandler for major minutes. They throw J.J. Redick out there for major minutes. Both of those guys are defensive liabilities. But the one thing that I've been seeing this year, and I saw it last year in the playoffs as well, is their late game play calling. You have Jimmy Butler, who is a man. I mean, and you saw what he did the first 3 games or so that he was with Philadelphia. He had a couple game winners, a couple big late shots in games. And you know what Joel Embiid can do? He can go for 40 and 20 literally at the drop of a hat, or at least 30 and 15 at the drop of a hat. And last second play in the fourth quarter to tie it, win it, whatever the case may be. It might have been overtime now. I can't entirely remember. But what do the 76ers run? They run a Ben Simmons, J.J. Redick handoff. Ben Simmons is no threat to shoot anywhere outside of the lane. J.J. Redick, what you do there is just you do a hard hedge, and the 6'4" guy can't effectively shoot over 2 guys. What are you doing running a handoff for a 3 with J.J. Redick? Give Jimmy Butler the ball. Give Joel Embiid the ball. I don't understand what the Philadelphia 76ers are doing from a front office or coaching standpoint, really for the past, I don't know, 6-7 months now at this point.
Yeah, that's going to go Bloss. Do you think they might make a coaching change somewhere down the line this season?
I don't think no, not really. I feel like the ownership group hired Brett Brown, and the ownership group had brought up Elton Brand. So I don't see either one of those 2 guys making moves or comments against each other because they're from that same kind of clique within that ownership group, which is unfortunate to say, but that stuff kind of does exist in professional sports. People talk about the NFL being a good old boys club. I don't see either one of those guys turning their backs on each other. I feel like they're going to do everything they can to rectify this situation. And it is rectifiable, don't get me wrong. You can still right this ship and make a legitimate contender come out of this team. But they've really got their work cut out for them with the 2 really kind of egregious mistakes that they've made with the Kawhi Leonard trade and trading Mikal Bridges.
And now look at the other team, Gordon Hayward. Like I said, he's invisible off the bench, only scored 6 points. He's basically been abysmal all season for him. Talked about it early in the season, but I moved to the bench and had kind of liability. Do you see his minutes going up or down, playing like 24 minutes a game right now?
Do I see his minutes?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. In that 76ers Celtics game, Kyrie had a double-double. Jason Tatum had a double-double. But what really helped them a lot, almost as much as those two guys having outstanding games, was getting Al Horford back and Marcus Morris back. Those guys lead their team in rebounding. That's important. And so having Kyrie and Tatum go off and then having your two important rebounders come back, they beat the 76ers in overtime in a very big game. It makes you wonder, because they started Marcus Morris and then they started Marcus Smart. So it makes you kind of wonder, like, what are they eyeing towards right now? Are they looking to go win right now and see what they can figure out? Or are they looking to, have all those four top guys with Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Gordon Hayward kind of all blend together? And it looks like they're taking that win now approach. Gordon Hayward, he made some, you read his stat line off. I don't need to say it again, of course. But he ran out there and he made some fluid movements, and I was happy to see that. He had one alley-oop in the third or fourth quarter that looked, fairly athletic. But I think Brad Stevens and Danny Ainge probably had a talk at some point and said, like, hey, we are spending this money on Gordon Hayward, but at the same time, we have to put the team out there that can win right now. And I think that's kind of what they're going for. Maybe this year isn't going to be their year after it's all said and done. Maybe next year they'll eye it again, but they're taking the win now approach, not to give up on this year. So I think that's kind of what you're seeing. We'll see if it holds true for the rest of the regular season, though.
All right, now we're on to some of the show we call What's on the Fly. So I ask Fletcher 3 questions, you know what they are, and have some all on the fly. Last week, or earlier this season, Fletcher asked me if I thought Dwight Howard was going to be in the Hall of Fame, and we looked at the stats, we both said yes. The last week, I showed you that Dwight Howard, from a longevity standpoint, is a better center than Patrick Ewing.
Hey, and they were blind, and I went with Dwight Howard. So
You did. And this week, I'm going to ask you players and the Hall of Fame chances.
okay.
They're all current players, and all I've mentioned on the show, actually. The first player is Paul George.
Paul George. Paul George.
In case you're wondering, his career averages are 19, 6, and 3.
Yeah, I knew they were going to be around 20 and 5 or 6. So I knew that was the case. I'm going to put him at and it's probably going to seem low to some people, but I'm going to put him at a 30 to 40% chance of making the Hall of Fame. He's not going to win anything in Oklahoma City. He's locked up there long term now with Russell Westbrook. They're not winning shit. He's going to have some, really outstanding years. He's having a really outstanding year this year. He had some really good years with the Pacers, never made it to the finals. He challenged LeBron, at different stages throughout the postseason for his career, which was really nice to see as a Pacers fan. But at the end of the day, averaging 20, 19 for your career isn't going to do shit. There's a guy who led the league in scoring in the 80s more than Larry Bird and Magic Johnson combined. His name was Alex English, played for the Denver Nuggets. Don't quote me on this, but I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. And that just goes to show you, individual numbers don't put you in the Hall of Fame, especially if you don't average like 23 or more. So 19 and 6 isn't doing it for me. His chances are really low, 30%.
Okay. The next player, Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving. Well, Kyrie's at the championship, and we all know the individual skill Kyrie has. At this point, he's got to decide, do I want to build a legacy or do I want to, build my bank account? I think if he stays with the Boston Celtics for the rest of his career, carves out a nice spot for him there, cements himself in Celtics aura, and can maybe win another title for the Celtics. You're looking at a guy who's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Probably 70% or better he'll be in the Hall of Fame if he does what I just, laid out for you there. But if he decides to go to the Nets, decides to go to the Knicks, wants to team up with Jimmy Butler somewhere, those chances go to about 40 to 50%. He's on the cusp of making it or not, depending on how the writers look at him.
All right. And the last guy, Draymond Green.
Draymond Green.
I was just 9, 7, and 5.
Yeah, there are some guys who make it into the Hall of Fame, and their numbers might not necessarily speak to what they, meant. You're going to look at a guy who's Defensive Player of the Year, first team All NBA defender, multi-time All-Star, multi-time champion. He's probably going to figure out a way to get into the Hall of Fame, especially if he leaves the Warriors in free agency and goes on to have like a really, high caliber stretch of 3 or 4 years without them, like saying, averaging 16, 9 and 9 for that stint without the Warriors, really boosting his individual numbers. So I'm going to give Draymond Green almost the high chances making the Hall of Fame as Kyrie Irving if he stays with the Celtics. So we'll look at 60-70%, something like that.
All right. Well, okay. Well, we'll probably play that game again, but that has been what's going to play for this week. So before the season started, let's get on Tossing the Side Mothership Show and gave some prediction for NBA season. He said the Patriots go over their win total, Thunder under, and several other ones. Fletcher,
Yep.
why don't you tell us about what you said and where you stand on this?
Yeah, I've got a lot of them, and I've been keeping track on them here. So Luka Doncic, I think I hit that one pretty well. I think I hit that one out of the park as far as calling Luka Doncic. Billy Donovan and the Thunder, I thought that he would be one of the first few coaches fired. I thought the Thunder would shit the bed. As of right now, that has not been the case. Billy Donovan, they really like him as a coach, and the Thunder are doing well for the most part. Tyronn Lue, though, and the Cavaliers called that one coming. He was fired 6 games in. The Cavaliers have been awful. They're tied for the worst record in the NBA. Pacers literally on pace for their win total to cover for the over under for their win total at 47.5. They're on their way to covering that one. I'm glad I made that call. Rockets coming into this year, I thought they would vie for a top 2 or 3, at least a 4 spot in the West, and that has obviously flamed out. That's not happening. The Lakers' early success, I predicted that. I think it's going to continue, especially if their role players and younger players, continue to play at the level that they're at. LeBron isn't going to miss too many games, I don't think. So I think that's going to continue. Kyle Kuzma, people were big on Brandon Ingram, and I thought Kyle Kuzma was the guy to pick. There was even a guy who used to do this show who thought Brandon Ingram was going to be an all-star this year, and I said no. I said Kyle Kuzma is the guy that's going to emerge out of this Lakers young core, and he really has. I called Anthony Davis for MVP. That's not looking like it's going to be very good at this point. You called Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is going to be a viable MVP candidate. I called Austin Rivers being 6th man of the year. Boy, that has not worked out well. Although, if Houston finds success and they keep bringing Austin Rivers off the bench when Chris Paul comes back healthy, there might be a chance. But really 6th man of the year has come down to a 2-horse race between Sabonis and Derrick Rose. I also, I was really big on the Celtics coming into the year. Their win total was projected at 57.5. I'm like, dude, guys, that's a lock. I was telling Leighton that a lot off air. And then I switched it. I said, don't bet the Celtics. I really wanted them. And the reason I didn't want the Celtics win total is because of the Raptors. So, I was holding the Raptors early on in the year as far as what they could be. And you're kind of seeing it. And the last one here, I've been calling this one for more than just this year. I was calling it even during the postseason of last year, and I was almost right. But here we are again, Warriors fatigue. Draymond missed games early in the year. Steph has missed games to her groin injury. You got Klay Thompson. You got Draymond Green shooting all-time lows for their career. So that's just a little bit of where I've been right and where I've been wrong. And there's definitely plenty of both. So
Yeah, and people listen to the show know Fletcher, what we talk about, and he is often, pretty often, he just said. So, Fletcher, out of all of those, which one did you have the least faith in going forward?
Out of all the ones I've called right, which one do I have the least faith in going forward?
Yeah, it could turn on you.
Doncic is sold. We already know what Doncic is. Lakers' early season success, that's a little volatile. The Pacers, I think they have a good team as far as defense and depth is concerned. Kyle Kuzma, I really don't think he's going to go anywhere either. The Raptors are here to stay. The Warriors' fatigue, I'm pretty confident in that. But if I had to choose 2 of these, or 1 or 2 of these that I'm worried about the most, it's definitely the Lakers' early success. That could flame out at any point with how competitive that West is. And on that same token, the Warriors are capable of turning things around, I think, better than any team in the NBA. So the Lakers' early season success and the Warriors' fatigue are ones that worry me the most.
And on the other side, which one did you get wrong that you think could come back and end up being right?
Austin Rivers, if Chris Paul comes back and plays healthy and they keep bringing Austin Rivers off the bench and they make a late season playoff push, you could see Austin Rivers' name thrown around with Sixth Man of the Year, but he's not going to win it. It's going to come down to Sabonis and Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose has been coming off the bench for the most part behind Jeff Teague since he's come back from his injury. And then AD for MVP. If the Pelicans are somehow able to right the ship and make a push for things, you could see AD's name at least thrown into the conversation of MVPs again, but he's not going to win it this year either. So I'm not sold on either one of those two happening, but they could at least be considered in discussion.
And do you have a prediction for the season going forward?
They might not be super bold, but I think I'll just say for the rest of the year that I think Oladipo will be a starter in the Eastern Conference at shooting guard, and I also think that LeBron James is going to win your MVP this year.
LeBron James.
If the Lakers get the top 4 seed or they continue the success that they're at, I mean, they're gonna win he's gonna win the MVP. Jokic is having a great year, and the Nuggets are doing great, but LeBron is he's averaging 27, 8, and 7. I mean, those numbers are impressive. He's shooting 53% from the field, 36 from 3, or 35 or 34% or whatever it is right now. So that kind of turnaround from the Lakers of winning 35 games to be in the top 4 spot in the West, I think it deserves merit for MVP, but I thought last year deserved merit for MVP as well, so we'll see.
All right, and now move on to who's the best team right now. Eastern Conference.
Yep.
No shook up from the previous week, trying to stick with the Raptors.
Yep.
They haven't really faltered at all. They've been pretty consistent all season.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just stick with the Raptors. There's not a whole lot that's changing there. The Bucks, they had a nice win against the Knicks for Christmas Day, but it's the Knicks, so like who's really writing home about that?
Pacers 2.5 out of first.
Yeah, we're not doing bad. We're coming around. We're 23-12. I want to see them get the second spot before I even start mentioning that. So yeah.
All right, and Western Conference, same shit, but not LeBron's hurt. So I'm just going to still Golden State just because it's the Warriors.
Well, I mean, we just talked about the Denver Nuggets last week being as good as they are. Golden State has actually now surpassed them for a half game into first. Oklahoma City's third with the Lakers in fourth. They're tied for fourth with the Clippers. So I'm going to go Golden State because they're number one in the conference. I don't know what to make of the Western Conference right now, though.
Yeah, like I said earlier.
I mean, if LeBron was healthy and those top 4 teams played in a playoff series, I don't know who would win. I mean, I guess I would choose the Warriors because of what I've seen, but like any of those teams could make it out of a playoff series, I think. So
yeah, they'll be good one to watch. And now on Game of the Week, I actually have 2 games for you. It's one tonight, one Sunday, both Lakers and Kings. LeBron won't play in either game, so I want to see how the young core for the Lakers compares to the young core of the Kings, and can the Lakers pull it off?
That's one thing I've always kind of been thinking about here is like, if you go back to the draft night a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago, or however long it was now, the Lakers were saying, "Oh, we don't know about Lonzo Ball, this and that," and all it was just talk. You knew it was just talk, but excuse me, they mentioned, "Oh, we might take De'Aaron Fox instead of Lonzo Ball," and it's like you're taking Lonzo Ball, and of course they took Lonzo Ball. But I kind of think now, like, what if they had taken De'Aaron Fox? De'Aaron Fox is, I think, having a much better year than Lonzo Ball. I don't think anybody can really deny that. What would they think? Lonzo provides certain aspects on defense and offense as far as rebounding and passing and stuff that De'Aaron Fox isn't able to match. But, who's better? That's a, very good question. I got a couple of games for you, too. An NBA game that I think is going to have some implications coming down the stretch is the Spurs and Clippers. They play this weekend. That'll be a good game to watch if you're into the NBA. But one game that I'm looking forward to more is a game on Saturday, I believe. And you look at an in-state rivalry between the University of Kentucky and Louisville. Both teams are 9-2, 9-3, or whatever the case may be. Kentucky just came off a big win against North Carolina, so I'm kind of excited to see how they rebound against a big rivalry game in Louisville.
All right. And Dippers, this has been Volume 29 of Hysteria. As always, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Saucy Pod. Listen to all the Saucy on the Side podcasts on iTunes and Spotify. From Layton, from Fletcher, as always, Dippers, stay saucy.